What's going on, everyone? I am back again, but this time we get to actually dive into a little bit better of quality of set 5 spoilers. There was a little bit of a stream today, and well, we actually got the full reveal of a few of the cards we talked about yesterday. And my goodness, am I very excited about what is going down with the new set 5 cards. So we're going to dive into the stream here and more specifically talk about some of the actual teasers of where they're pulling content from. Not complete, of course, but just a few cool ones. Before we do, big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. And also, I have a TCG Planet link in the description down below. And we're going to start off with our friend Darth Maul. Getting a lot of Mauls in the game, and I love to see it. I think everyone else agrees. But Darth Maul here, we saw this yesterday, using the Force token, dealing damage to a unit, 1 damage to a different unit. We saw he was a 6 resource, 5/6, but we didn't get to see his flip side, which on attack is just the same thing on the front. Now, one of the things that I hadn't considered at the time, as we had just gotten the card revealed in a pretty poor image, but grit. This is a card that can really benefit from having crit on your side of the battlefield, because oftentimes when you're dealing a damage to a unit, there isn't a guarantee that you'll have another unit to be able to deal damage to. And this is where grit comes in, because you can obviously choose your own units to get some extra power on them. That's pretty sweet, but also just, well, having this leader really dish out a bunch of random damage with the Force token, I think could be pretty solid. This is, of course, is the starter deck card, which looks pretty awesome. Not so sure about the 5/6 resource flip side. A little bit higher power, but a little bit lower toughness. That 6 toughness does actually come into play quite often if you've played a lot of 6 resource leaders. That 6th point of toughness does matter a ton. But of course, we saw this guy already, but we got some new ones that we actually get to see the total of the card, which we hadn't before. So I'm going to trick myself down here a little bit so you guys can see Darth Maul's lightsaber. We've got, first off, Darth Sidious in the top left. It is a 6/8, which we didn't get to see before. He also has the Separatist tag, which is really interesting. Really interesting, because now you can play it for like 6 in a Dooku deck, for example. I'm always interested in Separatist cards. But 8 resource, 6/8, restore 2. When played, you may use the Force. If you do, defeat each non-Sith unit with 3 or less remaining HP. Honestly, this makes me a little bit less excited about Darth Sidious. I thought he was just going to be a blanket to defeat each non-Sith unit with 3 or less remaining HP, period. But the fact that you have to use the Force means that it might be a little bit more limited in deck building options. So maybe less interesting. I was thinking about Darth Sidious with maybe Palpatine's return. Fitting with Darth Sidious, but probably not going to be all that relevant, because you're going to have Force be a reliable acquisition. Otherwise, you're just playing a 8 resource, 6/8 restore 2. Next up, we got 2 resource event Drain Essence in Vigilance Villainy. It's a deal 2 to a unit. The Force is with you. This one's actually pretty interesting in those Force-based decks. Just being able to hit something and then get the Force is actually really nice. Now, here's the problem. Daring Raid is a 1 resource event, and it can hit the base. And it's not limited to just villainy. So that you really need to go ahead and get value out of the Force is with us. Daring Raid doesn't actually come into play in a ton of decks without the use of Tarkin Town either. So this 2 damage either needs to be like a sideboard option where you're killing off P-38s or another 2 toughness unit that your opponent's playing, like Kylo's Silencer, or, as I said, you really need to get value out of the Forces with us. I don't actually see this being all that powerful, especially with just some of the initial cards that we saw. Really allows you to generate Force very quickly. Next up, we got Darth Maul's lightsaber 3 cost upgrade in Aggression Villainy. You attach it to a friendly non-vehicle unit. When played, if attached unit is Darth Maul, you may attack with him. For this attack, he gains Overwhelm and can't attack bases. So very aggressive upgrade here with +4/+2 stat line. And, well, gonna work with Darth Maul. Going to be able to Overwhelm. That's kind of nice. But doesn't give you enough toughness to maybe warrant that big power bump. Obviously, you'll be able to cut through some units, which is nice, and that can be relevant in some situations. The nice thing about this is that you can choose not to attack with him if you don't want to actually attack their unit and just attack the base afterwards. But here's the problem with this. It's +4/+2 for a 3 resource upgrade that only works really with Darth Maul, and really only works when you have Darth Maul and you have to, or rather, you have the option to hit a unit. We've seen way better upgrades in my opinion. I actually think +3/+3 is a overall better stat line than +4/+2. Next up, we got Scimitar, and this is a card that I'm way more excited about knowing the actual text box than before. We have a 4-cost space unit in Villainy. It's a 3/4 Sith vehicle transport. I think the Sith tag could potentially be relevant, as we've seen with Darth Sidious, so that's something to potentially look out for, as this is a space unit that does have that Sith tag. While this unit is damaged, it gains +3/+0. So a pretty straightforward unit. I don't think this is like revolutionary or anything like that, but it's a little bit more exciting now that we know because of Darth Maul's ability. We only saw the 3/4 stat line in the previous video. The +3/+0 actually can do some decent work. Turns it into a 6/3 essentially if you've done 1 damage to an opposing unit and 1 damage to the Scimitar with Darth Maul's ability. This is a lot of power. I don't think it's good enough to really see a ton of play, but that type of effect I think could have some potential in your Darth Maul decks. Next up, we've got an absurdly statted unit and something that maybe has some viability just as an ECL option. We've seen how strong something like a Wrecker is, and this guy's got a massive amount of power. 6-cost ground unit in Savage Oppress with Aggression Villainy as the aspects. 9/6 stat line with Overwhelm, really relevant. When played and when defeated, you may use the Force. If you don't, deal 9 damage to your base. So here's the thing. You gotta have the Force. Otherwise, this card is really unplayable. Because even if you're ECLing it, let's say you do get value, get to kill a unit, and Savage Oppress lives with 2 HP, and heck, let's say you'd even had the Force right then and there. You're going to lose that Force token. And then if your opponent kills the Savage, you suddenly lose 9 HP? Like, that is incredible. Now, it would trade for 2 different units, but that's going to be a really bad thing to do in a lot of different matchups if you're not prepared for that when defeated trigger. I think if this was just a when played, I would be more excited about it. And as I said, I think it is interesting because of like the Wrecker potential where he drops as an ECL 6-drop, comes in, smacks through a unit, hits your opponent's base for like 3 or 4 damage. I think that's very realistic, but you're probably going to get hit for 9 damage minimum in the process. And if you don't have a Force token, you're getting hit for like 18. That's game losing. Like, that is game losing straight up. I think they're a little bit reserved, but these are uncommons and commons in like starter deck cards and things like that. So maybe something that we'll see a little bit better options. I don't know. They're obviously saving the good stuff for later, I'm sure. And they're teasing a few cards like, as we're going to talk about here, the new Qui-Gon, guys. Qui-Gon looks incredibly strong comparatively to the Darth Maul. I think I'd much rather have Qui-Gon Jinn. His action, as we talked about yesterday, gets return a friendly non-leader unit to its owner's hand. You play a non-villainy unit that costs less than a return unit for free. So you get to basically just go ahead and maybe recycle some when played triggers. Epic action, 6 to deploy, 4/7, Force Jedi Republic. It is Republic. That's also potentially relevant with set 3. But when this unit completes attack, you may do the same thing as an action. You get to bounce something, play a non-villainy unit, costs less, and you get to play it for free. Pretty sweet. But then we get to talk about some of the cards that have options for your Qui-Gon deck. First off, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's a 3-resource 3/5. I mentioned that it's probably going to be a 3/5 if I would have expected, and I expect it to be so. When you play a Force unit, it gains Sentinel. Not too bad. I don't think it's like incredibly strong or anything like that. This next one, Refugee of the Path, 0/3. When playing, you may give a shield token to a unit with Sentinel. Here's the thing. This has the Force tag. So now we have 2 with the next card we're going to talk about. 1-drops that have the Force tag. I think that is interesting. I think the when played is pretty weak because you're going to really need some sort of Sentinel to get any sort of value. Otherwise, you're just playing a 1-resource 0/3 Force unit. On another note, this might be good enough because you can do things like Refugee of the Path, Mystic Reflection, Refugee of the Path, Force Throw on turn 1. That is pretty strong. And usually in those situations, your opponent's going to have like a 3-cost card or more in their hand to most likely finish off their turn 1 play. So you kind of traded 2 for 2 and you're left with a Force unit on the battlefield, which isn't actually too bad. Next up, we've got Anakin Skywalker. We saw this yesterday. Cunning Heroism, 1 cost, 1/1 Force Fringe unit. It's got Hidden. This is a new mechanic in the new set. This unit can't be attacked if it was played this phase. I think that's actually really, really nice, simply because you can do that whole Force Throw shenanigans that Refugee of the Path can do, but with Anakin instead. He also has Shielded. I think this is pretty nice. Again, it's just annoying to have a Force unit on the battlefield if you are playing the Force deck. It works with the new base, so you can attack, get Force back. It works with Force Throws. It works with the Force is with you. It works with all those different types of cards. So I think it is relevant to have Anakin in your deck. And I am really excited to potentially build out some more Force synergies. Of course, playing Anakin, playing Force Throw, and then maybe dropping some sort of big upgrade on him could be interesting. Or, I don't know, playing just double Cunning and doing something like that where you have the Force unit and you can trigger a bunch of double Cunning stuff because there's some Force payoff in Cunning with the new Qui-Gon could be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Next up, we got Qui-Gon Jinn's Ether Sprite. It's a 5-cost space unit. Cunning Heroism, 3/6. We saw this yesterday on attack. Next time you use a when played ability this phase, you may use that ability again. I had mentioned this yesterday, I think, but some cool things you could do with this is like ECL Qui-Gon Jinn's Ether Sprite. You get to attack with it. You get to, well, then bounce Qui-Gon Jinn's Ether Sprite back to your hand with Qui-Gon Jinn, and then play something like Ahsoka Tano, double discard, maybe exhaust a couple units, whatever it is. That could be incredible. Of course, just playing Qui-Gon Jinn's Ether Sprite, bouncing it, or just attacking with it. You don't even necessarily need to bounce it, but then on the 6 resource turn, you get to play something like Cantina Bouncer. Boom, bounce 2 things. That can be incredible. Incredible. So I'm really actually excited about this. It's similar to the When Defeated from Thrawn, which is really, really nice. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting, okay? We have the Stinger Mantis. This is a really exciting card. Now, for those of you that don't know, Stinger Mantis is the ship that you're flying around in the Jedi Fallen Order game. Well, the first one, mainly. And this is kind of hinting at Cal Kestis and the rest of the crew coming in with this set. I didn't think they would put Stinger Mantis in without also including a lot of the crew, which means Grease, Cal, etc. Maybe Marin with the Night Sisters, because we kind of have the Night Sisters popping up already. I could definitely see some exciting stuff with the Stinger. The overall card, 5 resource space unit, 4/6, when played, deal 2 damage to an exhausted unit. Not actually that exciting. I mean, yes, you can go ahead and use this with Qui-Gon Jinn's Ether Sprite and get 4 damage. I don't think you really want to be playing a card that specifically isn't like incredibly powerful or decently powerful already to try to combo with something like an Ether Sprite. So I don't know if Stinger Mantis is really going to be that playable, but it is really interesting just for the implications of including, well, not something that I thought about realistically, and I'm interested in seeing if they're going to include maybe some other game characters. Now, I know some of them are not canon like Cal is, but maybe we'll see some Revan soon. I don't know, guys. It is pretty sweet. It is very, very sweet to see. And this is another screenshot of the previous cards. You can see this is what we saw earlier, a little bit of a zoom in. We didn't get to see the power on Darth Maul's lightsaber, didn't get to see the toughness on some of these units, so nice to see. We have Chirrut, probably a Chirrut card. Definitely exciting to see more of Chirrut. We've got this absolutely sweet scene, the Mace Windu versus Mother Talzin back from the latter seasons. I believe season 6 of the Clone Wars, which was really, really cool to see. Or maybe this is just, hey, there's Mace Windu, and then hey, there's Mother Talzin. But I think the way they're showcasing this is really specifically to probably incorporate that Clone Wars episode. Maybe we'll see something cool with that. Absolutely love to see. We've got Porgs. This is an interesting one. I don't know if the card is on this preview list, but it is a 0-cost 1/1 colorless unit, period. So our first like 0-cost unit that comes down is actually like not a token. That just is a card in your hand that you get to play. I could see that being maybe useful if we have like some sort of Rex deck with a unity of purpose type shenanigans going on there, where you have just in a massive go wide strategy and you're able to benefit from all the go wide pumps. Maybe Porg is useful there. Then we also have kind of the banner of the new set 5, which I am really excited because we have Balin's Skull on here. We've got the Ahsoka from the Ahsoka Tano series that they're fighting. Another Yoda here, Mother Talzin Savage. I'm more excited about Balin's Skull because that also introduces potentially, Shin Hati. You've got maybe another Thrawn in there. Maybe you got the other Thrawn's stormtroopers and maybe like more space units, just because that in of itself kind of represents all those types of people and characters in the story. Or maybe they're just going to stick to the specific force unit, so maybe just Shin, Ahsoka, Balin. We could see another Ezra Bridger coming in, and this is kind of nice because there is potential for Ezra to have the Spectre tag. I don't think they will go that direction, simply because the Sabine that we had that had the lightsaber did not have the tags that I would have expected. It does have the Spectre tag though, so maybe I don't know, guys. Maybe. I mean, Hera could always use some more love. Ahsoka maybe having the Spectre tag. I also wouldn't expect that one either, but it's possible. So Hera getting some love. And the Night Sisters, I mean, we've seen a few peaks here and there of some Night Sister action with, oh my gosh, I forget the card. Daughter of Dathomir, I think is the card name. It's that weird 3/5 like restore one. And then we have Morgan Elspeth, the is it 3/6 cost that you could attack and sacrifice units to draw cards, and it's got a restore one or whatever. I think that's the card. Cards that are a little bit more niche, but we have some Night Sisters already. That would be really sweet to see, like a Night Sister leader, like Mother Talzin, Old Daka, something like that, to lead the crew into battle with, Night Sister Zombie. We've got Talia, we've got Asajj potentially during her sprint with the Night Sisters. All that could be really, really relevant, and I would be absolutely here for it. Absolutely here for it. So overall, really excited. A little bit more of the Set 5 spoilers. I expect not to see a ton of Set 5 discussion for quite some time. They kind of did this with all the previous sets. They released this little bit of a teaser on the starter deck cards, and then we waited quite a while, and then we started to slowly get a card here and there, and then we transitioned into a regular spoiler season, and I can't wait for that. Of course, this overall, just like the titles, if you had read me Spark of Rebellion, Shadows of the Galaxy, Twilight of the Republic, Jump to Lightspeed, and Legends of the Force, it would be Legends of the Force all day. Give me that set. That's the set I want to see the most, followed up by Twilight of the Republic. If I had seen those set names, of course, doesn't always mechanically play out that way, but it is nice to see that we're diving into some more niche content, like Jedi Fallen Order, for example. A lot of people don't know about Cal Kestis and the crew, so it's nice to see that. And that also means we could see one of the most menacing variants of Darth Vader that we've ever seen in any media ever. Like, if you guys have played the first game and you get to see the first kind of reveal of Cal versus Vader at the end there, it is incredibly scary. Like, it's one of the few moments where I'm sitting down playing a game and I'm like, I gotta like just walk away because I gotta run away from Vader, even if it's in the game, guys. It's just freaky. So really, really looking forward to seeing the potential they could do with that. But overall, really nice to see. Glad we got the actual full resolution of these cards. And my goodness, does this art look absolutely sweet. Get me, by the way, a playmat of this right here. I would absolutely love that. Also hit me up with a Porg playmat too. I wouldn't be mad about that one at all. Thanks so much, everyone. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all for a video soon.